like. You can spend some time ideating Tuesday to Friday, but have a good idea if you're going to do a project that you've done in one of the past 3 sprints, or if you're going to start a new project and stuff like that. And if you decide to do a project from this sprint, I think Ben said that Revv would be willing to work with some people to develop the product. So keep that in mind. All right. So as soon as you guys throw their stuff up there, let's have you guys hand out your team and Rainer your team. Let's go. Ready?
David, would you give a bumper for the video?
A what?
A bumper? A little lead in.
Okay.
Just very quick, just say what this video is.
So this video is the final script presentation for Olin.js.
You can look at the camera. They know this.
An Olin College class, top 5 students, where we throw candy at people while they're presenting. All right, good. Let's go. Hannah, you guys ready to go? All right, let's go. You guys go first. So same deal. About 5 minutes or so for the presentation. And Kenny will be first. It's going to be Hannah and Martin and
How?
Oh, because David was looking good last night.
Yeah, whenever I do it, it's such a weird fucking 2 phone numbers.
Hi. So start off with talking about the inspiration for our app is sort of a parable, I guess, about a dad and his son gets angry a lot and throws tantrums. And so his dad wants him to stop throwing tantrums. So whenever he gets mad, his dad tells him to go back and hammer a nail into the fence. And eventually he stops doing this quite so frequently, and so if he goes a whole day without throwing a tantrum, his dad says, okay, go out and pull a nail out of the fence. And this way has sort of a positive and negative reinforcement that it's not just sort of resetting a counter to 0 if you do a bad habit again after not doing it for a while, but you sort of have a metric of how much you've been doing it or not doing it. So that was where we got the inspiration for this app, we'll discuss.
Yeah, so our app's called Habit Fence. So we all have bad habits, and it's a pretty simple concept. It's like really basic. But you log in with Facebook. And David, you might need to log in with Facebook.
Oh, Peter.
Oh, no.
David Gander's got a habit fence.
So when you start off, you have an empty fence. You don't really have any new goals. But let's say that I eat when I'm stressed, and so I want to like stop stress eating or stress snacking maybe. And I haven't done this for a whole day, but then I'm like, oh no, I have a presentation due. I need to eat. Oh my God, Reese's. Oh man, I need to nail something into that fence.
So on it goes. You've got a little nail on the fence there, and the counter will increment.
You want to add another one?
Let's put a couple on there
Oh, I can see them.
because it's a really stressful presentation.
Now, if you want to have your friends help you keep to your goal, you can post to Facebook when you create a goal. So how about you create a new goal for stop chewing my nails?
Here we go. It's not going to post my Facebook. Okay, cool.
Did you post to Facebook?
You gave me permission.
Stop chewing my nails. Okay, good.
What embarrassing things does David want to stop doing, guys?
Shaking his leg.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Stop shaking. Stop hard shaking
Anyway, so your friends can come in and they can, if they see you do this habit that you're doing, they can add nails. And then basically what you want to try to do is you want to get to a net 0 and keep it at a net 0 as long as possible. So future directions for this app could be to gamify it and like, you know, people that stay at 0 the longest have a leaderboard or something. And it could be competitive among friends. So.
So yeah, you said like going forward, you want to try to gamify it. What kind of gamification would you imagine? What would be the mechanics?
So we had sort of a couple ideas we haven't really fleshed out, but sort of making it more of a social thing. So like we got some feedback that it'd be cool if you could nail each other's fences or put nails in each other's fences. So if you have sort of that social aspect of like if I see David chewing his nails, I can put nails in his fence. And then, for example, like if we had similar fence posts, you know, if I get to 0 before he does, then I win or something.
We were thinking we could make it more viral if we tweaked some things, like the name might be nail.me. So you nail a person, so nail me. And people could like be just, throwing nails at their friends across the internet, and it could be quick there. Job.
What was the hardest part about this project?
What did you say, Greg, about the nails?
Yeah, just trying to organize where the nails are going onto the fence and having that update the information of.
How are the nails organized? So like, can you keep on putting in more of that one row?
It
It goes down to the next row.
we limit how many are represented there to 20. Actually, you can drag a 21st on, but so they're staying within the page here, and you can't remove below 0. So just a couple of features.
And if you refresh, the number of nails will stay the same.
Yes. Oh, that's a good question then. How do we refresh on that? We're not allowed. Yeah.
If you had to give like a skill work breakdown per person, like what would you say, or what new skills did you exercise each of you?
Oh my goodness, I learned so much about jQuery. It happened. It all clicked this time, so finally that happened. Yeah, thank you.
I think Graham probably learned the most because he was the drag and drop guy.
I learned a lot of Inkscape, trying to get fence posts that didn't look really awful, and CSS just to get all the things to line up, all the text in the right places. Like if you make a really long goal, getting it to scroll within that width instead of, or that height instead of like awkwardly going down under it.
I think for me it was like the data structure setup, like with databases, was weird because most apps we've just done like a basic, there's a user, another database that doesn't relate to it at all. But this time we actually had a couple relations, and we ended up redoing it multiple times because we kept on like forgetting the relationship between like a fence has many nails, which then like a user has a fence, or do they have multiple fences, and so we just messed that up like 3 or 4 times.
Awesome. Good job, man.
So I got like a wood texture.
Come on.
Picture online, and then I popped it.
We've never had companies that actually want to put crazy.
You also haven't yet had a complaint. So it must be the best thing.
We did sort of come on with the crazy.
Because there's no one If you unwrap it first, it's melted. Like, it's an empty wrap.
Hey guys, good moderator. We sent it to you an email, so definitely vote on your favorite app.
Well, Raider came well dressed.
Yeah. 25.
It's
here for Olin.js.
Just for Olin.js. Give us a lead in with your team name and your team member. Mail MS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're Mail MS. I'm Rainer Crosby. It's Abe Kim. Doing it in Nazareth. Welcome. It's just like showing us like cool like chiptune graphics. Hope it's like actually working. I guess the light's on.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Going
So,
good?
so there are still 136 million people in the U.S. that do not have smartphones, even though we all tend to. And we kind of assume, so when we send an email or something, we're like, crap, I'm running 5 minutes late for a meeting, you kind of assume the other person has a smartphone, and they're going to get that. Don't do that. So suppose that Rainer needs to quickly send a message to his client. And you send an email, got a flat tire, has to reschedule the meeting. In this scenario, Rainer's like a badass no developer. So Rainer's clientele are too cool for school. So that's over 9,000. Jolly has no data. That's true. Yeah, no,
It's actually true.
no, that's good. So Rainer assumes the message went through. Tim and John assume Rainer's a no-show. They're definitely not going to work.
The angry goat was angry. But don't worry, because angry goat, well, one, angry goat is always angry. And number two, mail MS is user data. So basically, what mail MS does is it lets you receive certain emails via text messages. and it works with smartphones and dumb phones, even with modern smartphones.
And the last thing is this is kind of a potential platform to collect all sorts of different info from people, so you can collect habit info really quickly. And one of the things people brought up is that you can collect medical info really quickly via SMS as like a potential way to expand.
Great. So here's the
Alright,
demo.
let's see if this works. Here we are at mailms.herokuapp.com. I'm gonna walk up to this and type in my phone number. And my email address is fwdemailms. We'll just assume I'm a Gmail user. I'm gonna log in. And we're gonna go ahead and tell you guys not to actually do this, since one of the things we didn't get to is some more like security with like storing username and password information for like your email account with a Olin.js sprint. Like, don't use this because we're just storing it in plain text. So. But here we are. It says, oh, awesome. You should receive a welcome text to your phone shortly. So we'll wait for that to happen. And in the meantime, I'm going to take this email, this computer over here. I'm just going to like send that account I just typed in an email address from David Gaynor over here and say, to FWD email ms@gmail.com. Subject, flat tire, I'll be late.
There you go.
And in theory, freeway.
Oh, wait, do you not have...
There it goes.
Oh,
I
okay.
just got a text message.
Great.
Prove it.
I was actually kind of scared we weren't going to get signal on you.
Oh, that's true.
For 4AC and the 20s
Yeah.
for that.
If you want to control minus and minus, make the page.
So we're going back to the presentation.
Great. So,
So then,
any questions? Yeah.
Can you say more about the collecting info, like especially medical info? Like I didn't
Yeah,
really know where that.
so basically when we were talking about this, we were trying to figure out like, so we think this is really cool as like a very single use case, like Jalia doesn't have like the data plan so she can get this and SMS back, but you think about like building out a technology for SMSing emails, it's kind of cool from a like, you can sit at your computer and get a lot of, send emails really quickly and get a lot of people to respond to data, right? Like so you're collecting data on habits, and one of the things that's been talked about being used for is like if you're doing that for the medical industry. It's not necessarily the use case we would think of to start off with, but like we think of how to actually monetize this.
Yeah, so I thought of another use case, which I actually have personally. So I happen to have a smartphone, but I refuse to check email on my smartphone because I think it's extremely inefficient to do so. So I process my email twice a day, and this has led to problems where like I show up at a meeting and like someone emailed me 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, didn't you read the little thing at the bottom of my email that says I don't check email except for twice a day? So it's I'm sort of imposing my system on other people, and what I would like is if the system was intelligent enough to sort of know who I was about to meet with, and that person just emailed me, that would come through either, I'd be fine with an email notification, text would be fine, so that I would not miss things, right? Because what I don't want is like, oh, latest newsletter, right?
Exactly.
What I do want is, someone I'm about to meet with is going to be 20 minutes late and wants to change the location, and I find myself sitting there like typing search queries into Gmail so that I don't have to look at my entire inbox and freak out. So I guess my comment is that I think this has applicability beyond just people who have poor email management systems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in terms of like meetings, I think another way to go with that is say you're using Google Calendar, and I'm sure there's a way to like go back and forth between Google Calendar with your invitees and just the mails that you're getting, and if it's just with those invitees or someone else or whatnot, then we should have a filter system. Corey?
I was going to ask, did you guys think about filter systems? I know earlier in the presentation we talked about important emails. So have you guys thought about like what important means? Because in the context of a meeting, that's a really smart idea. But there might be other ways to do it, or what your thoughts were.
One of our first thoughts was like, we want this for very short messages coming from one user. So like, an example was yesterday when I was trying to find Abe, and he sent me an email like, "Hey, I'm in the drawing room, which has no service." And that would be nice to come to my phone instead of to my email because I had no idea to check my email. But a big like reply all carpe diem doesn't usually come to my phone.
And like, one other thing we could do is we could like take advantage of Gmail already having priority inbox. I'm pretty sure they expose that in their, like if you connect through IMAP, like we would have access to that information. So that's another like direction we could take, and just sort of like let them do the hard part of like AI, figuring out what's important to you and have them write those algorithms.
If there's mail that I should answer, that's so important that I should answer it on my phone, is there a mail that is also so important so unimportant that it shouldn't wind up in my Gmail, but I should still have it?
Well, I think if that's the case for you, then that's sort of what I do with Olin mailing lists, I guess. And that's another direction. That's another project that we could have made to say like, here's a way to like go the opposite direction with this, but like do a Gmail plugin or something to like filter that out of your info.
I use a product called Sandbox, which filters out various types of mail. Puts sort of digest mail in one place, it puts stuff that it thinks is unimportant in another place, and then my inbox is pretty clean. So it's sort of like priority inbox times 5, and I find it quite useful. That I don't have to process as much mail on a daily basis, and then at the end of the week I can move all the bullshit.
Yeah, I think from a tech level, you had to each describe part that you worked on in this project, what would it be?
Totally.
Email.
I guess I did a little bit of decrypt, but I didn't. Like we said, we didn't end up implementing. So there it is.
For like saving passwords.
Yeah.
So that we could actually have a demo where you guys could use it.
Oh, and also, like, actually, one other thing to mention is that this involves like having a background process running, and we have this kind of, it works right now, but it's not good. So that was an interesting.
So what did you guys do to solve the issue of scheduling?
WebScript.io.
Yeah, WebScript.io is this thing, and it's not good, I guess, but like we set up an endpoint on our thing that just like does what we need to do on the server side, and it just said, like, we have a WebScript.io thing set up saying like, okay, every minute just hit this endpoint.
Basically, yeah, it's like having a cron job, except you're just running a specific script at certain points, and like at a specific endpoint. Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. Good job, guys. Security. Non-cars.
We're local.
Ours is a Chrome.
We have
No,
Other teams have Chrome extensions. They have to run local.
No, we don't have Chrome.
You don't run
or any local.
Who's local? Anybody local here?
Oh, you?
Local.
We don't have Chrome.
I tried to scrub it out.
You mean serious?
Alright.
Well, actually,
You guys ready? We want to listen? Here's something cool. Okay, so our project is called Social Savior. It kind of centers on the idea that like change is hard, and a lot of times you can recognize that you have some bad habits, and like it's still like really hard to make those changes. So we talked about, we realized like a lot of times it's just like a certain thing on the internet that you do that like you shouldn't be doing. Like for example, like if you go on Reddit way too much, like there's not a lot you can do to stop yourself from going on Reddit too much. Like you could install a blocker or you can redirect away from Reddit, but then I don't know, you'll probably just uninstall that service or something. And if you have to go to like
Right. My mom likes going on Domino's, so the only way, but the most effective way to stop someone that we thought is if someone comes in and helps you. Like I want to like someone coming into his room and saying, "Hey, don't order that pizza," is a really good way to get you to stop. So we tried to figure out a way to emulate that. So we created Social Savior, which is a Google Chrome extension that lets you list a certain action to do when you go on a website.
Right, so let's try and do this. So it's basically when I do this sort of action. Right now we only have texting, but we envision like, you know, Hangouts or actual calls or emails, as you prefer. So let's say if I go to Domino's, that's how you spell Domino's, I hope. I'm going to text Dan, my friend here. Dan, what's your number? Alright, I'll use my number because Dad doesn't have his number. And help me. Alright, just save it. And what actually happens is he loads up. Like there's the Reddit one and there's the Domino's one. What's actually going to happen if we go on Domino's now? You know, like sort of warn you that someone's being contacted and I'm going to get a text soon. Well, because I have it myself right now, but my friend will get a text soon saying, "Oh, look at that." I got a text. I told you at the back end saying that, "Hey, help this person. He's doing something he shouldn't be." And of course, we'll put in people that are close friends that really care about you, not just random people. So that's Social Savior.
Alright, any questions? You can also add more people.
Oh yeah.
By hitting this nifty.
And me.
Woo! Hello.
But we're not gonna.
Yeah.
So I've installed and then uninstalled blockers.
Yeah.
More times than I can count.
Yeah.
And it's usually just because I get pissed off. It's like.
Yeah.
So
No,
like
this-
this,
so this is not-
right now.
so,
Get out of my face.
I know.
So what's sort of the behavioral way to stop people from just being like uninstall, go down?
So this is not actually doing anything on your screen. We thought about weird ways of putting like flooding it with Nyancast so you can't even see the page and stuff like that. But this actually just tells your friend to help you out. Our assumption was it's a lot more likely to notice your friend than some annoying widget. So we just know to your friend, it's up to your friend to come and help you out, and that we thought was a lot more
You know,
powerful.
so I have a neat addition to this, which is if you want to install it, it should also text you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Just uninstalled. So
We're not friends anymore.
Yeah. From a behavioral psychology perspective, you can, if you get someone to pre-commit in sort of a rational state of mind, you can change behavior when someone's not in a rational state later, when it's late at night and they want Domino's. So, you know, the challenge is that fewer people are willing to put themselves under that gun, but those who do, it will change their behavior pretty
Yeah.
effectively.
You got it.
Yes. What was the toughest part about building the Chrome extension?
Just getting used to the Chrome part, so the Twilio stuff's pretty damn simple. And just trying to get a structure to the app, because like another part we have to figure out is like how to detect where people are, which turned out to be not that hard. So technically it wasn't that hard, but it's just small pieces and connecting up.
Is that actually a DOM object, the pop-up?
Yeah,
it's
Oh, it is.
It's basically its own page, and it lives within its own context.
There's a lot of Chrome permission stuff that we still have to figure out to get it on the web store.
It has its own console.
Okay, probably go.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Right.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Charlie, oh. That's good enough.
I prefer to be a policy.
Let's move on. It goes back further.
George.
Good job, guys.
What is this, Russia?
Hey.
He's so short, you can
Not up?
Guys, good one, water your food. Charlie,
I was busy listening to
No, refresh page.
Yeah, you come back in.
Stop being naive.
No, it only works on.
Yeah.
It's just
That's true.
as just the MacBook.
Which is
It's IE and then from.
okay, also Safari and
Hey, so we are Prolix. and we made an app to help people improve their vocab. So what does that mean? So there are a lot of like tweets or Facebook posts that people will post, and you just have no idea what they mean, no idea what they're trying to say. The vocab is awful, the spelling is awful. And we want to help people improve the way they speak and on social media, make them sound more intelligent. So that's the problem. Is when for people who want to learn new vocab words and sound more intelligent, it's easy to go like get some flashcards and learn them. It's hard to actually go use them. And so when you get to the time when you're writing things down, you can't actually remember which word you use, and you can't like put them into conversation. And if Snooki had that, she might have sounded a little better.
Okay, so we created Prolix to kind of harness that social pressure on social media to, in the short term, make you sound a little bit better and more professional, but in the long term, help you learn more vocabulary so you can integrate it better into your speech, just to reiterate. But we didn't want to reinvent a thesaurus. I mean, there are thesauruses out there. If you really care about your vocab, you can just go look up words. So we really wanted to integrate it into the social media experience. So what Prolix does is, whenever you're on Twitter or Facebook, it's constantly posting the text that you're creating. And then the backend sends back words down that are, kind of dull, a little bit bland, that if you spruce them up a little bit, you'll sound a lot more vibrant. So that kind of gives you suggestions on better vocabulary words to use, but also makes your text a little bit more interesting to read. So it kind of has this net effect, short term and long term. So, like, just to show you, like, basically what we're trying to do before the demo, we have this sentence that's, kind of it says, he's a great guy, but he has a big head. I think they're talking about Corey. So, we're gonna spice it up a little bit, and Prolix is gonna suggest we use fantastic for great and gigantic for big. And so at the end we have, he's a fantastic guy, but he has a gigantic head. So there are a lot of different kinds of people would use this. Definitely new English speakers. That's kind of a creative one that we thought of. And then people in general, like high school students that want to learn more vocabulary. Maybe business people that have like a professional Twitter account that want to sound smarter on the internet. And then Shane's friend from Nigeria who has $1 million, but he just needs a bank account to share it. Because that's, yeah.
So for a demo, so let's say I just got verified on Twitter, and I had to watch this thing that showed me what not to do. And I saw this guy, his name was David Gaynor. He was using these small, silly tweets. So I'm going to post to my Facebook friends. David.
It's the Deborah.
So this is going to send it up to our server, and then we'll look down here and see, hey, I can replace silly or small. What can I replace it with? Any of these. He writes goofy tweets. So I'm going to say to my friends, he writes small, goofy tweets. And now that, so that's probably some Facebook magic that we'll have to figure out. In that it must be logging in the background what I've been typing, and since there wasn't an actual key press, it did something weird. But that's the gist of it. Sounds more professional to be saying larger words rather than just small and silly.
Everybody who's like that, you're getting a bad grade in this class. You can't be on Facebook with your presentation.
That's probably questions?
In the ideal conception of this, how do you think that people would use this, or like how would this influence my writing in an ideal form? Like, would it do it as I'm writing? Would it do it in this sort of pop-up style? Like, is your trajectory to like just introduce things passively, or put people on a track toward learning new words?
So, ideally, what we'd like is some sort of a subtle notification that there are
suggestions. So maybe underlining a word that could be replaced or something like that. But, in the meantime, we'll just let the user select the word when they want to spruce up the language, and it updates automatically, so it's always up there for them to look at if they want to replace something in the text.
So would it be something sort of like autocorrect, where you start typing something and it says, oh hey, this is a word, but there's this other word, and it'll pop up above it with a nice button?
Yeah, with that. It's that's a really hard UX problem because you don't want to like annoy people as they're typing. So that'll take like a little bit more research. But you can imagine something a little bit more subtle than like having a word like come up in your face.
So what immediately came up for me was the UX like spell check, where instead of the red under squiggly, you could do like a green under squiggly, which is like, oh, there could be a better suggestion here.
Yeah.
And you can ignore it or use it. My other comment is that I'd love to use this in email. So I write way more emails than I do social media updates, and it's more important for me to sound in those emails, right? So having something that would suggest better word choices, and I would learn something from it. It's a pretty cool concept.
And it is for monetization, or do you think that? I'll come with it.
I think just as a Chrome extension, like I would use this. So I think it's just like a cheap Chrome extension. We want to like throw in ads. We want to make it just as simple and non-obtrusive as possible.
There could also be like a limit to how many words you get. Okay, thank you.
Who's next? Oh, not sweet, but
Yes.
Alright, good. Amanda's team. Oh no.
I would go.
We're not even sure, like,
Well, a lot of people
causing
give me
trouble.
the at least actually look at the text.
I know. Okay. I'm trying to block those.
I have. Is it the same spot?
We're not. Facebook is obviously.
Oh,
Stop.
okay. Yeah, let's do that. That makes more sense. Wait, but I made all these nice playlists. Oh no, and my whatever. We'll use mine.
We'll use Helios.
Okay.
They're binding to like on click and adding some data. They're probably binding to on key down. Right. Oh yeah, it's very good. So you're probably just faking key down. Yeah. But like it's kind of surprising they do that.
Yeah.
So we never actually posted anything from our
Awesome.
It is. No.
Yeah. So you never run it?
No, like.
Get rid of the. I think you have to get rid of the sidebar.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Cool. Okay. So, as Ben pitched to us 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, there's a lot of inefficiency that exists in most people's morning routines, for example, where you're kind of you wake up and oh, I'm just gonna sit in bed and read my email, and probably 10 minutes go by, and crap, I'm gonna be late for whatever this thing is. So we really wanted to work in that space of getting to be more efficient with a routine, whether it's your morning routine or anything else you have to do throughout the day that is some kind of routine. So our project is called Tempo. Yeah, so basically it's like a playlist that keeps you on track and will keep you focused. And so the idea is that you set up the activities that comprise your routine. So wake up, check email, brush teeth, shower, make bed, whatever it is, and you get to pick a song to set to that routine. And let's say brushing your teeth takes you 2.5 minutes for some reason. You can tell it to play that song for that duration of time, and then it'll stop and move on to the next item in your task list. So that it's not just a boring timer or something, you actually get to listen to a song that you like and over time build that habit. So you say, okay, is TikTok by Kesha, that means I'm supposed to be brushing my teeth right now. And it's sort of positive reinforcement with the bottom of Jack, yes. Yeah. And so it's kind of positive reinforcement for that as well. And so we also envision that this could be really useful as a mobile app. Imagine just putting your phone in your pocket and you can walk around wherever you have to go while you're doing your routine. The music will be playing the whole time. The other thing that would be cool is having it like be an alarm. So it just starts off by like it goes off at 8, music starts playing, but instead of having to turn off the alarm, you let the music keep going, and it'll after a certain amount of time that it takes you to wake up, it'll move on to the next thing, and you're like, okay, now I have to get up and do this thing. Instead of hitting snooze like 10 times. Which is my ideal routine.
Yeah.
really. So we'll give you a little demo. So this is our homepage, and then we can make a routine. And so we're gonna call it like wake up or something. And so the first thing you do is like wake up. And like I don't know, I like to like lay in bed a little bit. Like,
we're gonna shorten these times, but
we're
gonna actually like play this through for you. So we're gonna make them like
10 seconds. This is in seconds. Yeah, so we'll make it short. So a song.
We can take suggestions for songs.
Yeah. All Night Longer by Sammy Adams is what I like to wake up to. And then maybe like we want to brush our teeth for 5 seconds. And that's why my teeth are so white. And like I don't know, like check email or something.
Scary to heaven.
Okay, but for like maybe like 15 seconds, and we're gonna do stare. Sorry. Get away. Okay, and so then we like find a song, and then as you can see, like this pops up. We're using Rdio. So we're using Rdio API.
Ghostface Killer.
This one?
Yeah. Ghostface Killer.
Okay, I don't know this song. Okay. And then so maybe I'm like, oh wait, I want to like check my email while I'm still in bed. So we can like move it up, and then so you can like shuffle them around. Like obviously you want to wake up first. And then you save the routine, which I hope I just pressed. And then you can go to your routines. And so I already made some routines. So my friend Nathan likes to work out. He does biceps, chest, and abs. But every day. You can also like some daily chores. I don't know. These are some examples of stuff that like I would like to do every day. And then so the wake up one, and you can play it. Yeah, it's gonna play for like 10 seconds.
In Vegas, yeah, I drink it good for bangers, get set.
And then now we're listening to something that's not I don't know what this is.
Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Got my glasses, I'm out the door.
And then then you extend your routine. So some like future things that we want to do is like we were saying, we would want to make it obviously like some sort of like on your phone web app or mobile app type thing. Also, we would want to have volume control because like I don't know, for when you're waking up, you probably want the song a lot louder. If you're in the shower, you want your song a lot louder. So like controlling the volume per song and like kind of like per activity. And then the other thing would be like for longer activity times, something to kind of put them together. So like showering usually takes me more than one song. And then the last thing was we would want to have like some sort of tone in between each song to say like move on to the next activity or activity, or like a speech or text to speech that could like actually tell you like wake up and then play the song, check your email and play the song.
I'm really thinking that could be like a training feature, so like maybe for the first week that you're using it, it'll like actually speak the thing, and then you can just turn it off once it's like gotten to be long enough that you actually know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Brush your teeth with Jack every morning. Questions? Yeah, Tim.
Is there a permanent URL for this?
It's currently not on Heroku right now.
We want to use it.
I want to use it.
Right now. We're going to use it for the presentation actually. You guys have 5 minutes. So you can choose your music.
From a usability perspective, there's something very powerful about tying music to activity. And I just as an example, like I have a specific song that I take a cold shower to, and when I don't have music, I automatically start singing it. And it's just like a one-to-one, like I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So it works really well. The challenge that I have is that I'm a pretty I run routines very well, and I still can't get myself to have it be so regimented that it would work, I think, well enough for this to work perfectly. So as an example, let's say there was a brush tooth routine. I might get out of the shower and decide, for whatever reason, I'm going to shave first. And I'm wondering how to fit this concept. Where would it really fit into someone's life really well, and where is it harder to sort of run really clean routines?
We're wondering that too. I think like the workout example seems to be something that would be a little bit easier to like not have sort of like uncertainties pop up, like deciding to shave at a different time or something. And then like the sort of like part of the inspiration for this is like Keely says like every day, like in order to get herself to clean her room, she'll like play like
three songs every day
and do that,
and then just clean my room for that period of time, and then once it's done, then I'm done. But I do it every day, so like I'm always kind of like maintaining. But then like the other thing is like I don't know, like having a routine, like if you had this like a routine, like why would you decide to switch your order like and shave your face first?
Yeah, and this might enforce that routine a little stronger. I really like the room cleaning example because that, it will give you a nice little reward for having done the work you're supposed to do.
And it's like more enjoyable when I have this music happening. Yeah, cool.
I think it's really awesome. One of the things you got would be like transition periods. I don't know what you guys think about that in terms of like routines, but I think about these actions, like I get worried that if I start brushing my teeth, after I'm done with that, like I have to immediately be in the shower, but like
so maybe you account for that in the
right,
in the
exactly.
time.
Like, it might be cool if there was some kind of transition. I know
It's like different sound, you mean?
Yeah, like early in high school, there was like we had to change classes. They played music,
Oh,
and like that helped us transition. Yeah, we also got creative with smiley faces.
Yeah, definitely. Like either with like that tone and then having like maybe it longer or something. Totally, yeah, John.
Yeah, I think one way you could do that would be maybe to crossfit the songs a little bit, so that rather than having this jarring cutoff in between activities, sort of like gradually going into
Yeah, that would work for like if we're adding volume control. The other thing though is that since this does require like to play long amounts of or long like, snippets of a song in RDO count, like with what we're using right now. But because of the time it takes the song to buffer, we can't really like shorten the time in between. So it kind of like fade out, pause for a little bit, and then like so that new song could fade in or something. But okay, that would be okay.
I'm not sure there are. Or you can hack it. It's like probably.
We can discuss that.
Okay. Yeah. So this is playing with RDO like full payment and you have to get like someone's account credentials.
Yeah, so currently like this computer is logged into Paul Booth's credentials, and so if we didn't have it, like we'd be able to get 30 seconds, but there's like some weirdness with the like.
We haven't tested without the account,
Yeah.
so we just end up using it the whole time.
Do you know how the app stores and Spotify and RDO are doing? There are, in Spotify, I try to make a big push for an app store, but I use Spotify and I've not used any apps.
Yeah. I don't know how they're doing. I use a few Spotify apps, but
It would fit really well into like, you're already in a music-related app store.
Yeah.
You can see this being really, quite useful for folks in that context, where maybe get a little more lost in like the iPhone store, and then you'd also have to have a Spotify account.
The other thing like is if it became an iPhone app, it could probably just pull from your iPhone library.
Yeah, also do that from
Spotify.
Or like, and yeah.
Alright, you guys, do you want your pepper patty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, David.
Oh my God! That's John.
If you guys aren't going to continue that, I'm going to do it. I don't care. I want
New York. I'm gonna take.
a hard class.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, so it's on mine now.
Yeah, seriously. You hurry up with the.
Yeah, we.
My brother's on. My brother's on.
Keep this configuration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Special generation.
audio.
Sure. Alright, hello, we are Take 5, and the idea behind our app is actually a 2-for-1 that you have today. We have a Chrome extension and a server that actually work fairly well separately. So the idea behind our app is sort of going with the Pomodoro style of 25 minutes of working and a 5-minute break. We thought that one of the problems that people might have with that is that, so they work for their 25 minutes, and then they know they have to take a 5-minute break. But what are they going to do with that 5-minute break? So we made an app that has a 25-minute timer, and then goes off, and it takes you to this page, and you will set up an account for Take 5, and it will tell you what to do on your 5-minute break, such that it's a structured break that will last 5 minutes, and you won't get lost in Facebook or something for half an hour when you should be only taking a 5-minute break, and it'll tell you when to end your break, when to begin, and what to do. And it'll structure it such that you will get some activity that also fits into a category or life you're trying to improve.
And one of the difficult problems would be content generation. So we've actually crowdsourced that. So the idea is that individual users can contribute an activity that they might do over a 5-minute break. And then based on how much users who are using this app like that activity gets weighted to appear more often or less often. And you can see the Chrome extension up there in the left or right-hand corner. And it's just a little green hand. Right now I have it activated, so every 25 minutes it's going to redirect me, open up a new tab, and appear as a activity.
Alright, so we're going to log in.
Yep.
And we are logging in with Google Auth. So we're OAuthing you with Google, and that will set up your account for Take 5 automatically. And we can go to our little user settings page down at the bottom. And that allows us to configure sort of which kinds of breaks we want. So we have all sorts of categories set up, and if you click in this box, you can start to type in categories, and it has a type ahead going so that it knows which category you're trying to type in. It also won't let you type in a category that doesn't exist to make sure that you're not trying to do something that won't happen. Mm-hmm. And so if you hit the Save Change button, that's going to make sure that it filters which breaks you're going to get by the categories that you're choosing.
So if we go back to the break, you'll see that we now only have breaks which fall into the physical fitness category. And if I would actually go and accept that break, it'll take us to a countdown timer, which
right now
in this case is 5 seconds instead of 5 minutes. And also just drips, but
oh, that has been working.
Okay. Anyhow, typically you would have a dialog appear with a plus and a minus. And pressing the minus would add it to your blacklist, so it's not going to appear again. And pressing the plus would increment it globally for everyone who's using this app. So there's the crowdsource.
Yeah, so the more it gets plussed, the more it'll show up for other people. We can also go to the add page to add in a break if we want. And so we can type in a description of what to do on your break. So let's say comment on Derek's Facebook status about how much you hate David. And we can have an image of David crying in a corner if we have one of those. We have the URL for that. And we put that in the category of, you can go click on the category box. And let's put that in socialization. And we can submit that. And now that is in our database of breaks. So if we go back to the break page, we have a chance of getting that. It's not going to happen every time.
Can go and edit it.
But we gotta add in socialization into our settings though, otherwise it won't show up. We had some issues getting it to remember which settings you had already chosen and putting those in the box to begin with, but ideally it would do that.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
okay, so actually that was the
Chrome extension. That was the Chrome extension triggering. We have to take a 5-minute break. Let's see. I don't like this break that much. So we're gonna decline this break. And sometimes you get the same one. Instead, we're gonna make our 5-minute break questions.
Yeah.
So the plus or minus system does a ranking system.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And is there some? I feel like this alone, it being very transparent, is cool. But is there something like more meta that you can learn about people doing that? Like something you could build on top of that system?
Okay, so like harvesting the data to do something interesting with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like if you have people on the hook for a lot of attention, then like in like required feedback because they're giving some interaction about what's a good break or not. It seems like you have the category like physical exertion.
Yeah.
You do things which are like you gotta have an entire workout just built into Team 5 over the course of
That was one thing we did talk about is having the ability to, like you said, just set a category and then have almost like a playlist of things to do.
Yeah, we'd also thought about creating sort of linked breaks, such that you sort of, rather than getting a random break, you get sort of a set of breaks that you take in order. So it could be something like puzzles that link to each other, or a workout routine, something like that.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, I think the key is keeping the actions small and doable.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at some point I was trialing the Revv Cafe, Revv Co-op thing, and this time I was doing it in person with someone just to see if it worked. And at some point I turned to her and I was like, all right, during our break we're going to do these yoga things. She was like, fuck you, we're not. Taking a break, I'm going to do whatever I want. Or if I'd said, take 10 seconds to like stretch like this, she might have been like, fine. And then, that might have moved into yoga, etc. But it's very hard to get to someone to do something for 5 minutes. But some of those things on there, especially if they're suggestions, that's the other thing. People don't like to be told what to do. They're happy to be sort of suggested things to do and then get props for doing them. But the minute that we sort of switched into like, now you shall take a break, people are like, I want to take a break right now. Don't tell me what to do.
We also talked about having a delay mechanism that could potentially, if you're working on something important, just allow you to get that 5 minute break.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Hardest technical challenge on this.
That little timer. So the library you're using, actually, I found some bugs in it, so I was actually editing the library's code to try and make it work for us.
Yeah. Achievement unlocked.
Apparently, it is now dripping up.
We also had a bunch of issues with logins, but we did eventually manage to get persistent sessions working, so you will stay logged in even if you close your browser and come back in. So it'll just automatically take you to the page when the Chrome extension triggers. And also the multi-selects were being a little weird.
Yep.
What Chrome extensions do you guys use?
Let's see. One I use right now is Smarter, which pulls up, whenever you're reading an email, it pulls up the friend's Facebook status feed, so you can kind of see what's been going on in there. Like, let's see. And the little wolf from Alpha 1. It's kind of nice.
I one that I love recently. It's a text replacement engine in Chrome. So you write a shortcut to like, here's the blurb on my company, and I type 3 characters, control space, and toss it in. Really useful.
That's nice.
I installed my first Chrome extension 3 days ago, and it's ad block. So
yeah, it's classic.
If you change the library, you guys should make an issue and it's actually new code.
Okay.
And you'd be successful in
York
class.
or Reese's?
York.
York?
Because I already have a Reese's.
This wouldn't work, Tim.
No, sorry.
Bridge got this.
Oh!
Sports.
Sports. Yeah, right.
What do you want?
I need to get 5 minutes. Drink candy.
Oh, you get more.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, take 5 minutes. Yeah. All right, who has not gone yet?
Yeah, you didn't have to take 5.
All right, you guys go.
And one
I think we're down.
You guys should totally.
That means a lot of it. Make it break it.
Nope.
What is up, guys? We are Make It Break It, and we ask you to challenge yourselves. I'm Doyoung.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Kai.
Hi. So, let's imagine a situation here. It's New Year's, January 1st. We're very motivated. We're going to become a better person. Here's all the list of things I'm going to do. I'm going to get a damn job. I'm going to call my parents more often. I'm going to go jogging every day. I'm going to stop smoking. Blah, 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 blah. We're excited. We're motivated. It's going to happen. And then, no, it doesn't. Give it a month, maybe 2 weeks, and you realize you're actually not that motivated to do the things you said you were going to do. Why is that? And this isn't just for New Year's resolutions. It could be like learning a language, whether that be Python or French, or learning how to ride a bike, or going skydiving, or losing 10 pounds, or getting a job, eating healthier, exercising more, quit smoking, or changing the world with that awesome project that you're going to do, only if you're motivated. How can we fix this? You, in the present tense, you're excited, you're motivated, but in the future, not so much. It seems as if our motivation goes down exponentially for some reason. We're here to fix that. Essentially what our product does is it allows your present self to kick your future self in the ass and make sure that he does what he's supposed to do. How do we do that? With money. Here's how it works.
Okay, so yes, this is me, and I have this awesome goal that I want to be able to do 100 push-ups by the end of the month, which is not something I can do right now. So I go on our web app, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this group, and I'm going to put forward $50 saying that I'll be able to do this by the end of the month. So then my friends, Happy Asian Man, Old Lady, Grumpy Cat, and Harry Potter are like, oh, that's cool, let's do it too. And so then all of them also put forward $50. But there's a problem with Old Lady in that she can already do 100 push-ups, and so it's kind of not fair if she does it with us, so our web app will like filter her out and be like, no, you can't do this. So she's out, and then, so we're down to these 4 lovely friends, and so each of them put forward $50, and so for the group, we have a total pool of $200. And so then 1 month later, after doing push-ups hopefully every day and getting better at them, we reevaluate and see that Happy Asian Man and Harry Potter failed in doing 100 push-ups by the end of the month, and so they both lose the $50 bet that they put forward. And so then what happens is that Grumpy Cat and myself get back our $50 that we put in, and we also get a small cut of what Happy Asian Man and Harry Potter lost. And so right now we're just saying it's $5. We just want it to be a value small enough so that eventually we will make a profit.
So the idea is this isn't a profit-making scheme. It's more just a way to motivate you and say that, holy shit, if I do not do this, I'm going to lose $50. And it's sort of yourself in the present making sure that your future self will do what you wanted to do now, and you'll do that in the future. So we're going to show you a demo, and we ask you, of course, whether it's learning French, jogging every day, or learning a new instrument, to challenge yourself.
Okay, this is our app. So what you can do is, first of all, you have
Oh god.
Oh
god.
Control minus. Control minus.
There you go. So you have different options. You can either create your own group, you can join an existing group, or you can search for a group that you would like to be a part of. For example, so click join a group. These are currently all the groups that are going. It shows you how much, what's the total money pool, gives you like brief description what it is, as well as deadlines with most recent being on top. So say for example, you want to learn Japanese, so you would enter your bet value in here, click join this group, and then what it will do is, and then you have your own profile page with your name, as well as your goal displayed, time displayed until you reach your goal. And the problem, one of the problems is like, how exactly are we supposed to check whether or not you reach your goal? And so the way we figured this out was we would do a camera. So, camera. That and
All right, Kai, 50 push-ups.
Sorry.
Speak Japanese to me
Ah.
while you record. I'm sorry.
Like right now, the webcam doesn't support audio because there's some weird issues with that, but it does do video.
yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Go on
So-
Japanese. I was like, Ohayo nihongo ni benkyou shimashita ima.
Nice, $55.
Wait, you didn't record it.
So, no, wait, let's record. Do it again. Speak Japanese.
Okay, well,
Or like do jumping jacks. All right, good job. And then you see that it's like this. You want to talk about this?
Oh, so like basically you press record and then it like saves the video from when you started it, and so then, and it also saves like a sped up version so that the people, when you save it, you don't have to be like, oh, 50 push-ups, this is gonna take a long, long time. So maybe not a long time, but it'll just do it faster. And so then what you can do is you can download the video, and so then the idea is that we would send these videos like Mechanical Turk, and so they would like count how many push-ups you did, like from an unbiased source, so you can't just ask your friends, hey, tell them I did 50 push-ups. And so then what we want them to do right now is upload their video onto TinyPix so that it's hosted somewhere, and so then they can send the URL where the video is to Mechanical Turk, and then someone will count how many push-ups they've done. Hooray.
Yeah.
That's it.
How would you evaluate something like learn Japanese, especially if like it's kind of a subjective skill?
We
what
talked,
metric would you have?
so actually the teachers brought this up. They were like, so maybe things with language you could have actually pre-made tests that they would have to pass instead of like a video showing them doing something. So it could be like a video of them doing the test, like an oral exam or something.
And it'd also be have levels like Japanese 1, Japanese 2, Japanese 3. Just like the number of push-ups you do could increase depending on your physical skills.
Yeah, so what's a, if you were gonna continue this to the Glory project, right, what would you add? Like, what were you gonna build?
So we'd like to have an option where you can support a group or a person. It's not you're actually in the group, but it lets the person know that you have these many people watching you and seeing if you actually accomplish it. So it's like, I guess it's more of an incentive to finish it now that you have all these people checking up on you all the time, and you'll get notifications on how these people are doing. So that's one of the things we think that.
There's also, we're kind of bouncing back and forth between the idea of whether or not to do only one like goal challenge at a time or do multiple. We're kind of hesitant to do multiple because that might distract people from their current goals. But I mean, in some cases, you can get long-term goals, and that will, and that can like limit you to what you are capable of doing.
Did you guys think about, instead of making it sort of like a global community, having it be something for like a certain group, so it's like this class, like everyone bets like $10 that we're gonna come to class on time every day or something. And then I think it's sort of like a self-enforcing kind of thing, where you like, I guess there wouldn't really be the same thing where it would be weird for you guys to take money, but then you can rely on like all of us to police each other sort of, rather than having to have like some other sort of external evaluation of it.
So
Did that, like,
yeah,
come up?
so we actually thought about that too. So we actually first thought that this would purely be a Facebook app thing, so you could actually only invite your Facebook friends. But we thought we could why not just do both. And you could just have a group sort of be private, and you could just invite your friends, and then you could just have a closed group of just friends. You could go both ways.
When you extend it beyond that, even it sort of becomes like I don't know, merit badges for small communities if there's like recurring things that you can sign up for. It's a bit more detached from the betting and the like trying to set a future goal and like the reinforcement system, but I really just thinking of something like a validation engine even existing for some sort of arbitrary goal skill that I want to have, a goal that I want to accomplish. At Olin, you can imagine like even the mundane things like having climbed from the first floor to the fourth floor without touching the floor. As being like something that you'd want to validate and actually have checked off by your community and group, and I'd be more encouraged to do it knowing that there would be some sort of long-standing recognition after I had done it, and that in the future there's another social group, which is Olin, or like a local community, that I can take part in and continue to be a part of and see the legacy of that particular trait. Learning Spanish, learning a language, doing 100 push-ups, like workout groups, like all this emerges out of the community, but actually having like an achievement and reward and a validation system to come out of that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think the whole challenge yourself thing is really cool. I think it's cool to move this beyond just like getting starting something new, like learning a language. I think I would just really like it in terms of like if you're already good at something, challenge yourself to kind of push forward. I think that's a lot of people I know like maybe kind of athletics, you get to a certain point where it's like it's not so much fun to challenge yourself anymore because you kind of already went through like that. I'm gonna like learn this thing I could at. But it'd be really cool to have this community where I could be like, you know, I'm already pretty good at running. I could go on and that would be like, I'm gonna go on a run every day. That would be my challenge. My challenge would be like run a 4 to 15 mile, right? And then, you know, 10 people in the world somewhere who are also pretty competitive would come out and do that as well. It'd be a great way to kind of get people who are already like doing things to push to the next level and challenge themselves. That's a really fun thing to do. It's cool because it's not directly competitive with somebody else. You're not trying to beat somebody else, you're trying to beat yourself alone, but you're trying to beat other people and beating themselves. Not actually beating yourself, though.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Pieces or yours?
Pieces.
Yes. Good choice. You can take 5 if you want.
Trying to get it in the raft. So weird. There's roofs in this building that have rafters now. Yeah. Vote on the moderator. Vote on the moderator.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just flags. There's something about compared to get commits and how long
Oh, the display is changed.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Keep this.
This configuration.
Okay, so our app is named Goal Planner, and it's based around helping people to achieve their dreams and goals. So, an example of a goal that I wanted to achieve for a really long time is learning how to drive. But I was never able to achieve it because I could never create a long-term plan for myself that would help me get a license. So, the problem that we're addressing is that while people are really good at creating short-term plans that'll like help them finish all their day-to-day activities, like their homework and stuff, we have a lot of trouble creating long-term plans and thinking about the future. So, and there are lots of apps that'll help you with short-term planning, like schedulers and to-do lists. But the one thing that we noticed about all of these apps is that you have to create a timeline by yourself. And this can be really difficult for people who are a little bit disorganized and don't really know what will go into achieving a certain goal. So the idea for our product is you would give it a goal and it would give you a timeline and a set of associated tasks that would tell you how to go about achieving a certain objective. Okay, and we had a couple ideas about how to monetize this. We were thinking either like a free version of the app with like a paid version that could go along with it with like added functionality and stuff like that. And our other idea is, say I had a goal like I want to learn how to run a marathon. Then maybe I could get a sponsor who would give me like their plan of how I should go about doing that. So like Nike could be like, oh, here's our marathon guide. Yeah.
So now we'll demonstrate our prototype. And when I, as the user, okay. When I log in, I will see my reminders for today and the goals that I'm currently in the process of accomplishing. So for example, my long-term goal is to learn to play the violin. And I'll also see a calendar that has all my tasks planned out for me long-term. And for this month, I don't have anything scheduled, but I could go through and there would probably be other tasks that had already previously happened. And let's say I want to add a new goal. I can choose either a preset goal or make my own custom goal. And for the preset goals, we're thinking there could be a community of users who would save their goals and other users could access those. So for example, if someone has successfully applied to grad school and created the whole plan for that, I could access that and then use that goal. So let's say I'm a junior and I want to apply to grad school. I could see this preset goal with a bunch of daily activities, and I would set the start date and end date. Let's say I want to start today, April 12th, and I want to be done by December 15th because that's when the applications are due. I also see there are a bunch of tasks already created by some previous user, like registering for the GRE that has a duration of 1 day, taking it, or studying for it that takes 30 days, and then a bunch of other tasks. So I'll submit it, and it will save to my goals list, and you can see on my calendar, I now have a task for today that says register for the GRE, and for the month of May, I will be spending the whole month studying for the GRE, and then later, I would take the GRE, and it would continue all the way through December, when I would finally accomplish the goal of
applying to grad school, and then you can also see I would have accomplished my goal of learning to play the violin. Let's say I want to create my own custom goal. I can title it "Have a Productive Summer," and I want to add a task like volunteer for a week, and then this is in the case that I don't have a job for the summer. Maybe I'll read a novel for a week, and I can keep adding as many tasks as I want. I'll take an online course, and that'll take maybe a month. And then I want to start after school ends, like May 20th, and then and by the time school starts in September. Submit, and you can see that's been added to my goals, and in May I have volunteering scheduled for me, and read a novel, etc. Yeah, so that's our question.
What was the work or skill breakdown like between you guys?
I worked on like making everything look good, and I learned I learned CSS positioning and stuff.
Yeah, and I was mostly dealing with the calendar and getting the tasks that you saved to show up on it, and placing it so that it would be spread out evenly between the start and end dates.
I like how the actual tasks are tied back to the goals. That's one of the ways that I find that I can get myself to do something is tying it back to what I'm actually trying to accomplish. So what I'm actually trying to accomplish is not like go to the gym today. I'm trying to accomplish, like having more energy and feeling great. And if I tie it back, it's a lot easier to do the thing. So in this user experience, when it says do this, you're immediately seeing the goal that it's actually related to.
I think this is super cool. I like the fact that it's like put to my calendar. So it's like really easy right now for you to be like, I want to like learn the piano, and it's like hit yes, and then it makes this calendar for you. It's like so all I have to do is like do what it says each day, and it's good. It'd be cool if that tied in with G calendar. I don't know if that is. That would be really cool.
We were looking around for like different types of calendars to use, and there are ways that you can like connect this to your Gmail calendar. We just didn't have time to look at them.
But like going forward, that'd be
Yeah.
cool. That'd be super useful. If you could like also give a certain, if you could tell like what times you're free, like you could set aside time in every day for like my goal planner goals, and you can just fit those tasks in there. So we always have every hour I have a goal planner, every hour and this 3 to 4 hour goal planner goal time when I go and do my goal, like do my activities, achieve my goals.
Can I get Reese's?
Reese's.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to do it? Ready? Can you catch this?
Hey, you got it.
Hey, Reese's Pieces. Yeah, you know what? Reese's Pieces. People say Reese's
I said, remember to vote on the moderator.
Say,
It's the last
it's like
decision,
Reese's. You just said
right?
Reese's, the guy's name.
And I have this.
Reese's.
There's candy on the ground.
That'd be a really good name for results, like Windows computers. PCs. That works. If I own a computer shop that owns a whole I call it Reese's PCs. The whole like
Right.
Stop it, Corey. You're making me.
Yeah.
You can load it up.
It's going to be off.
You're on.
How much information
We've met.
We're next up again.
Yeah.
I have a question. What is Taskmaster?
Yeah, so we're good to start. We're just letting them. Okay, cool. So we're Taskmaster. We believe the internet is both your best friend and your worst enemy when it comes to self-directed learning. What we wanted to do was have a website and Chrome extension that essentially helps guide you and check how you're doing on specific tasks. So
as Mason's going to demonstrate. Let's say we wanted to learn JavaScript, and we wanted to use the internet to do this, essentially. If it'll log in.
Someday.
Is the Chrome extension running?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, but anyways, so what we are essentially, we're a Chrome extension that monitors all of the web pages you visit during a specific task time. So let's say we want to learn JavaScript. We throw in some keywords, JavaScript, jQuery, JS, and we want to learn it for the next hour. What Taskmaster does is it injects JavaScript into all the pages you visit and essentially monitors the relevance of the pages. So if you're looking at Wikipedia for JavaScript, it's going to notice all of the instances of JavaScript. It does basically text analysis on the sites you're visiting. And then it's essentially scoring you on how relevant the sites you're visiting are. So if you end up wandering off to Reddit, your score starts going down. And we essentially right now give you a nice handy score metric, which is how relevant and how on task you were for this task.
Yeah, I don't know. Was there for a sec?
Can you try a private window?
Like incognito?
Yeah.
You have to be
Yeah.
Restart the
If
app.
you go to settings, you have to.
except for unless you install it.
Oh, there it is. Just wait. What?
Control Shift A.
Somehow.
No, I usually it's fast. What? We could demo the.
Are you guys on the internet?
You have Google?
Yep.
I don't think I have internet.
Try using Google.
Let me try it on Google. I don't.
Yeah, our internet's dead.
What? What do you mean?
Is your VM not in it?
No, the VM's on. The little, the two arrows button. Is it there? Oh yeah.
It's got
connection one.
I try to go to Google.
Do you want to get your computer?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to get your computer? We haven't demoed on his computer, but we'll try it. My mongoose randomly nuked itself last night, so that was great.
Try Google.
Well, this is interesting.
Nice and what's up, VM?
Here, let's try it. Have you dropped it?
I think this is really fun. No.
It should work. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Oh crap, I think
All right.
I can have a taxi, and then I know every time. You'd know this. Like, you said, storm.
Do I need to borrow something? Where's your multimedia?
Everyone in the suite.
that's how we can my mongoose. I did the tuxedo service kills.
Freshman class.
How's it going?
They're really easy.
I can't get it on because I ran like stack on folks.
We just like
Mongo as well.
Here's the Reese's, Josh.
we stripped out the content.
Keep it up and
Like Mongo doesn't work next now. I type in the sudo service for clear and the restart. Index of
Why do I have to make that?
Alright guys, so while we're waiting, take this moment to, if you haven't already, launch your stuff to Heroku, or ask us, or ask Tim or Corey or Jeremy questions about launching things to Heroku, and that's so we can grade you.
Also,
And
vote on the
again,
moderator if you haven't yet.
yeah, vote on the moderator, and again, try to form teams by next Tuesday if you can. If you have an idea you really want to work on, otherwise come on Tuesday and we can help you kind of form ideas in teams then. But remember, we only have like 3.5 weeks, so 4 weeks until Expo or so. So the sooner you get an idea, the sooner you can start working and make it happen.
I'll do a quick pitch. If anyone wants to do something related to what they did today, we'd be very happy to help out and do some product development with you, do some user experience sprints, sort of whatever we can help on.
Anyway, how do you show them?
And then last pitch is we're still open for applications and interns. We've had a couple of great people apply and would love others to apply. So feel free to come talk to me after or shoot me an email, ben@revv.me. And you guys are all very talented. Nice job.
We worked on that.
I got it now.
What's that button?
Okay. This is yours.
So let's try it.
Is it or is it not working?
All right.
Okay.
They're back.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
So yeah, we logged in. He's gonna make his task.
So let's learn.
Hey, it works.
Let's do this for like 5 minutes, and I want keywords like JavaScript. I don't know, jQuery, Jones maybe.
YOLO.
Oh, YOLO. All right. Why not? Oh
God.
Alright, so yeah. And we act okay, so this is the display of your current task. You started here, we're gonna end in 5 minutes. We actually need I gotta do that. We have to activate the extension now. Okay, so that's on. And now we should be able to track our tasks. So I can search JavaScript and I'm gonna go to Wikipedia and I'm gonna derp around here.
Read the page.
I'm just gonna read because I can scroll and there's a thing.
We also have activity measurements, so we're actually logging your key and stroke activities to actually figure out whether or not you're really on the page or if you just loaded it up and then let it sit in another tab. So we're only looking at your current tabs, and as you can see, the score's going up because you're actually on a relevant page. Now, if we go to Reddit, for instance, although there might be goats or YOLO on Reddit, I don't know.
Yeah, that might be conducive towards learning JavaScript.
Yeah. So if we stay on this page for a little bit.
Oh, there's murder.
Oh man.
That's interesting. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh wow. So now our score is negative because you've been pressed.
Way down.
So unfortunately, this was about the level of completeness and level of information we're able to display right now. Ideally, we build a whole another level on top of this, showing which sites were your contributions, which ones did you find most helpful. Additionally, it'd be great to then have a level of you rating the sites that you visited, so that we can then start to use a higher level heuristic instead of just the keywords. And then ideally, if we have multiple people building these tasks, we then can just automatically use the keywords that others have used. We can start to present, with friends. What are your friends working on? You can just select there. So yeah, unfortunately, we just kind of struggled to deal with the technical details here because we're dealing with injecting JavaScript via Chrome extension, cookies because we have to somehow transmit who is it actually that's using it on this page, and then we have to sync it back with the server and their accounts on the server. So it's just there was a lot of struggle there with dealing with transmitting data between a server, a Chrome extension, and then getting that onto the actual pages, and then having it work in the pages. A lot of sites don't play well with JavaScript injection and injecting cookies, so it was relatively hackish. But yeah, and you can see that our score is kind of, I think it's over now. Is it over?
I aborted it because we were failing.
Yeah, how did you get to 5?
What's that?
Did you click back to JavaScript?
What is the question?
How did you score?
Why was
There's 5 minutes.
No, the score.
Oh, the score? There's JavaScript on the Taskmaster page, so it was reading JavaScript on the page.
That should have been killed by the active tab thing. Huh. Okay. We could check the console log to see if it was still working.
Well, yeah, we can see what URLs we were getting. Must have been.
Well, there's tons of zeros because it wasn't active.
Yeah. It must have been goats or YOLO. I don't know.
There must have been goats or YOLO, But yeah.
All right.
So, directions for this, if you had another 4 weeks to work on this, what would you do?
We would definitely build a very nice interface on top of the low-level stuff, showing breakdowns of the sites you visit, what were the best score contributors, what did you find most helpful, those kinds of things. So that would be the first level on top, just giving them a more helpful feedback instead of just a raw score metric. On top of that, we could additionally do another level, which would be analyzing like tasks and what sites people find relevant for their tasks. And then we could essentially build learning guides for people, where if you just wanted to learn this, you could then figure out what other people had used, and it would condense that down and present that to you as like, here's some helpful sites. And that kind of could be a direction to go on.
I also think being able to share particular tasks that you've completed with your friends would be really good, because if you see that your friend has just gotten better at JavaScript or something and they use these sites and they spent this long doing it, then that sort of motivates you as well if you wanted to complete a similar task.
Yeah.
Oh, your professor should take care of that.
This guy's never go far enough.
Alright, cool. So, everybody go to the moderators. We're going to go outside and the judge
Oh my god! Listen, Amy.
No, but I have to do that.
Yes.
I mean, first it's looking everything you just when it's all right stuff. When you're working takes a
Alright, so it doesn't mean go over I'm having it right now, but it's hard.
I think
Yeah. But it's a good routine as well.
got a lot of life. So it's not like people like I got to know I want to know what people
Socially, you're in your lobby.
Wait, that was.
But no, and I, we got agreed on that. We really were What?
I'm just gonna get fans.
I'm pretty sure that sounds
I'm running 30 times a week.
It goes faster.
Yeah, it speeds up and then
That's a hate crime.
But
We're not half time.
so we're pretty cool. But it was a difference.
$200 damage. Probably.
My phone. I'm so
Continues to haunt
Here's what you do. Literally.
Oh, maybe because I'm.
Wait for the chorus.
Right now it's like a photo show.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to add more.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Like that's what it took. Because it took him like an hour to do half. I'm like, and then
iPhone 5.
I'm sure you've heard that.
Looks like.
what is that?
Think about the time we spent.
I know. It's like it's
So, looking at really
but
intense
my
lava.
only issue is
I'm
like
not sure
it's
for
down
that.
there and
Settle.
what if I just get this and in half a year
What's gonna happen with any laptop is if you get over that. Something better is gonna come out and cry and want to.
You can buy it and see what happens.
Don't do that.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys have power.
Yeah, we're doing.
Oh yeah, I gotta check it. Yes.
And
So
I
it
just,
worked.
I just drag you around wherever.
Yeah.
And if I go back to,
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just working wherever. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh, wait, I can go into.
What? Go back.
Not exactly so.
Oh, yeah, you just wherever you.
That's velocity.
Yeah.
Go back and then she's you explain something. Okay, I got it.
Basically, when the following
Oh, yeah.
you have to make a screenshot.
One of my favorite memes of all time is like a Facebook post like, it's like him and my boyfriend. And he was hiding as my best friend for so many years. And then the next one's like, he did it! like everyone just cheering for him. It's like I'd be proud of me. I have it's just everyone just cheering.
That's right.
Ah!
Three sentences. No, we're spamming. Have some social. I hope he is. I mean, it comes from a number of
Yeah, see, I have you on my
Don't mess with me.
Tell you how it feels.
Oh, and now I have.
That was really bad. Yeah, it was good.
Again,
I thought you had perfect. Okay, literally, it was fun. That's quite a coincidence. Really random. Really random, yeah. I'm trying to like do that.
So the other one is
I'm never talking about it.
when you're watching it.
Dance!
The stitching one maybe.
With very slick video.
Dude, I want to be
I'm trying to remember.
My invisible friend has a
Another
thing that
Bob.
Herman the German.
I remember one night.
Like, yeah, myself. Like, less so cute than all. Basically the perfect German.
Basically, he wins, yeah. All Alex Lushka.
All the options free.
Oh
my god! It's totally.
Google cute. No, it's like BB and then like a cute fat. No, just shut up, get out of here. I hate you. You're not my friends anymore.
Now we're
Oh, we're back.
Oh, we're gonna throw all the hackers who are running out of time.
Whoa, my phone.
Okay, guys. So
Hey guys, thank you. First of all, this has been awesome. This has been great for us. I've got like a million ideas running through my head around all of these. So everyone did an awesome job. I'm going to sort of call out the 3 that I like, and then maybe choose one to put number 1. So I'll do that too. So I'll do the 2 honorable mentions first. Prolix was awesome. I can definitely see actually using that like on an everyday basis, especially in email for me. It's just like an automatic. I would use that, and I'd have to see over a couple of months if it got annoying, or if it became like spell check and it was just like a utility in what I used. Social Savior is the other really smart honorable mention, and I think people often underestimate how something really simple can actually change behavior, and that's a great example of like it's not complicated. You don't have to like do a lot of work, but it actually is likely to change behavior, which is very cool. And then I'll say the number 1 winner is the music tempo one, and it's a good combination of a great innovative idea that I could see people using, and a really cool technical implementation for like a week. Amazing job. And the only downside on that is trying to figure out like what routines to put it in and how to get it used by lots of people. But that's something that you could play with over time, and I think there would definitely be a user base. So thanks for everyone, and awesome sprint. And again, anyone who wants to work on this for the next couple of weeks, let me know either now or later, and I'd love to help you out.
Thank you.
Going forward with the sprints, not sprints, the final project, you guys can perform whatever you
Moderator.
Oh, yeah, so moderator, Prolix 1, moderator. Yeah, multiple choice. Good job, guys.
Yes, sir, yes.
And on the final project, you guys perform whatever teams you guys want, but still under 3. So,
3 or less. 3 or 2 or more?
well, under 3.
3 or under.
3 or under.
So 3 or under.
So I can make any, like,
Yes, yeah, so thanks again for us. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming in. It's super awesome working with you. Yeah, guys, great job this sprint. You guys have done so well in the last few weeks. It's been amazing. So we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Everyone just edit screenshots of their application and a blurb and some other cool stuff, because you guys did an awesome work.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
Not having
We're actually started writing on a Canvas zone. If you're writing on a Canvas zone, then right if they handle the error as well, and through an error,
Yes,
We
it's
broke
nice,
it.
it's better.
I don't know why.
That's,